Jerry? We ready? All right, good evening. The time being 7 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Oh,
It wasn't me.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Here, sorry.
Councilmember Patassi.
Here.
Councilmember Kettering.
Here.
And Mayor Barrios.
Here, please note all five of us are present.
And
Please
awake.
stand and awake.
And awake.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation provided by Pastor Kent Roberts with the River Christian Community Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the privilege of praying for you and with you. Join with me. Our Father in heaven, thank you for this incredible gift of prayer. We are blessed in knowing you, the sovereign creator and sustainer of everything, and to know that you love us, you hear us, and your heart is for us. And so in that certainty of knowing, with confidence we come before you once again. By our life's experience and the truth-filled promises of your word, we are reminded of who you are and what you alone can do. Tonight, we humbly ask that you would give wisdom and understanding to our city leaders. Grant them insight and discernment beyond the limitations of their own understanding as they desire to do what is best for the people of Oakdale. We are nearly every day reminded of and connected to the frailty and tragedy of this thing that we call humanity. Lord God, I want to thank you for the men and women who serve in the capacities of being our first responders, those who step into the worst moments of our frailties and tragedies to help us and help those we love. So protect and provide for these first responders and their families. Care for them. Watch over them. We are thankful for your promises and your presence. We are blessed in the certainty of your love and your grace. Lead us and teach us that we may, with ever-increasing faith, trust in you completely. Help us, enable us to live with intention in the pursuit of kindness, justice, and righteousness, which you say are the priorities in which you delight. And we pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. All right, so item 5.1, proclamation declaring May as Mental Health Awareness Month. At this time, I would like for the promotores to come up to the mic. Yes, all the promotores? Of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the proclamation, ladies, and then I'd like for you to explain a little bit about what you do in the community and talk about the green ribbons. And then we'll present this to you, and you ladies can have a great evening without me out there with you. All right, so proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental wellness is essential for healthy community and above all for preventing suicide, reducing stigma, and promoting collective well-being to everyone's overall health and well-being. Prevention is the best way to reduce future illnesses and complications in mental and emotional health. The Promotoras, Oakdale Advocates, is committed to promoting mental wellness, providing education, and offering compassionate support to women and their families in need. They have been an instrument of support, guidance, empowerment, and resilience, ensuring that every individual they serve feels heard, valued, and supported to break down stigma barriers in mental health services. I, Sherilyn Barrios, Mayor of City of Oakdale, the best city ever, do hereby recognize May as Mental Health Awareness Month. And I want to thank you ladies for all that you do in our community, not only today, but that you have been doing for many, many years, and really getting out there with the niños, with the families, and doing this as volunteers going all over. I know there's been some challenges that we're all working through together, but just being there for your community as a whole, it's greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. And we're here to honor you, not just today, but every day. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the green ribbons and just a little bit about you guys.
And you've been doing it for years and years and years. We
Yep.
appreciate you.
And they
Yeah.
informed me that they do it on their own dime. They don't
Yeah.
get the support that they used to, and they've been doing it
Actually,
a long
we
time.
started in 2014. That's the first time that we start, like thinking about mental health and how important it is to bring that information, to start a conversation about it. It was very, very difficult for us as a Latinas. First of all, because the language barrier, and second, because the topic, mental health, nobody wants to talk about, and one of the memories that I have from those years is that these ladies, and not only these ladies, but, the promotoras, we decide to buy the green tablecloth, start cutting and everything, but walking in May under the sun with the kids, and just for me to have that experience with them, that they don't care about anything, it's just that we want to get together and make sure to tie the ribbons around the city. But the experiences that we get is that nobody wants to talk about it. So instead for us as a promotoras to decide to stop, we want to keep going, So we decide to do that every year. After COVID, that's when we had a different response from the community. I remember that we did the same thing, tied in the ribbons, and more people start, asking, why the green color, what are you promoting, what's the meaning? After they closed family support last year, the same day, that same afternoon, Maria Ramirez, Luli Arias, Monica Mosqueda, she's not here with us today, but we was in that office crying and everything, our emotions, but we decided to keep going. And not because us, but because the kids. And we still on the same page. Doesn't matter if we had funds, if we had a place or not, it's not that we don't care, we need it, but that's not for us, I don't see that is something right there that we need to stop. We don't need to do that. And I need to be very honest. I don't see around here in the city conversations about mental health. And when I say conversation, I'm saying inviting the whole city to talk about it. I know we just have the how you call the
Fentanyl?
for fentanyl, and we the promotoras decide to go because we have a lot of kids, and I'm not talking about the Latinos kids. I'm talking about all the kids from our community. When we show up over there, the experience that we had there, it wasn't nice because we was expecting to see the community center full of participants, how is normal, when you guys invite them. We don't see that. After we decide to have that conversation, and instead for us to say, you know what, this is not our issue only, this is about the whole community, we decide to keep going. That's why we decide to tie almost 1,000 ribbons, not around the city, but specifically in the skate park, because we want the community to ask. And we want the community to start thinking that this is not only our issue, but this is our issue. And we're here today for you guys to know that these Latino ladies, 25 years already, doing something for the community, but seems to me that sometimes we feel alone, not part of that. And probably that's not the reality, that's not what I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying is that's how we feel sometimes. So thank you, Chair. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias por la oportunidad de recibir esta proclamación, porque es muy importante para nosotros y la razón que lo estoy diciendo en español es porque somos latinas, trabajamos muy duro y no traemos drogas a sus hogares. The reason why I'm saying this in español is because we're very proud of being Latinas. We work so hard, and we are not the ones who are bringing the drugs to this community. We are the ones who are being helping you guys for long, long time ago. So thank you. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are here, the promotoras. We're willing to work with you, and we're ready. We've been ready since years, but now you know this face.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
I
And-
do, oh, sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
do have one question for you. So at Love Oakdale, we were told that Oakdale has the highest suicide rate for Stanislaus
Yes.
County. Can you please narrate that for us a little bit more? Because when I posted that on Facebook, they didn't know if it was going off of cities our size or for the whole county.
Yeah, well, the only information that I can give you right now is what I get from the county, from prevention, early intervention, or behavioral health. When they talk to me, first of all, that's because I used to work under their grant in Raíz, promotoras. So I'm still connected with them. So they called me and we had that conversation because they was very, very concerned about Oakdale. And the only information that they give me is that we are, in that situation. So I had a conversation in October. Do you remember, Chair, that we met on this señorita
Yes, our
house?
house. Yes, of
Yes.
course.
So since then, I'm been, having conversation with Luz Pulido. She works for prevention. And that is the reason why we decide to keep going. Not only because the suicide, but because the fentanyl too. So it's not suicide, fentanyl is mental health. We don't have the resources here. Well, if you pay, probably, but we're talking about prevention. Something else that I can add is that Maria, Luli, and Monica, we decided to restart our groups for kids. Actually, ¿cuándo fue? ¿Miércoles? Wednesday, we celebrate the Day of the Child, Día del Niño, and we had almost, around 60 kids over there with the mamas. But those kids was there because we start in February, meeting with them weekly. And the person who support us to have a place is the Verduzco families, the Oakdale Events Center. They don't charge us nothing. They let us use the hall every day at any time. So if we as leaders can sit down and talk about it, I believe that we can help the county to reduce it. And that's my goal. That's our goal. So I know they have a lot of questions, but they can call BHRS. They have the answers. Actually, they're going to be here with me this coming Friday. Yeah. We're meeting with 50 ladies this coming Friday to celebrate and to close our programs. And Jennifer, she's going to be here bringing more information about fentanyl and Spanish.
Oh, good.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you for that.
I think a big problem that this country has in general is that we're so macho, right? We're so tough. We're not supposed to talk about our feelings. We're not supposed to talk about our mental state. And that's a truly bad situation.
Yes, it is.
Because the kids will see that, I'm stressed out. I have problems, but I'm not supposed to talk about them. You know what? You are supposed to talk about them. I told my son, raising him, you talk about them all the time.
Yeah.
You gotta have some place to vent, somebody to listen to you. And I appreciate what all of you ladies are doing.
Thank you. That's why we met with those kids, 50 kids weekly, teaching them techniques for them to prevent and to recognize emotions and to help the mama when she's trained, they know what to do. And we're talking about kids 8 to 12 years old. So for us, I know every other issue is important. We understand that. Celebrations and everything.
Yeah.
But what about mental health? What about prevention for our kids? I don't see anything of that. It's just what the promotoras are bringing for so many years. So now we need help from, everyone,
Yes.
everyone. And we can help. So, muchas gracias.
Thank you, Lady Ants.
Thank you.
Ladies?
La foto. Para allá. Sí, oh yeah, muchas gracias. Sí. Yes.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Good job,
Muchas
President.
gracias. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys Thursday. All right, now is the time for a public comment. Anyone wishing to provide public comment on an item that's not on the agenda, please come up to the mic and you will have 3 minutes. And also state your name. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Item 8, appointment to boards, commissions, and committees. Any council member have a question,
I do.
comment? Yes.
Where's his name? For Brian
Mm-hmm.
Huron?
Yes.
Is he here tonight?
He is.
I had a couple questions for him.
Brian, can you come up to the mic, please?
Thanks for being here, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your time that you've already spent donating to the Planning Commission. I just had a couple questions for you.
4 years
Um,
flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah, right? I know. How long have we already been in here?
I'll
Seems
do
like
my best to
yesterday.
answer your questions.
So I just wasn't a part of the interview process and haven't gotten to spend much time with you. I just had, what is your definition of responsible growth for Oakdale? What is your vision being on the Planning Commission?
Well, the job of a planning commissioner is a advisory capacity to you. We serve you, and our process is to evaluate projects and economic growth projects that come to the community. We vet them in accordance with the 2030 general plan. We vet them for code compliancy and compatibility. So I view that as a very responsible role, and I take leadership, or try to take leadership in that endeavor, to see those projects responsibly. Moderate growth, not slow growth, if that's the question. But growth appropriately done, appropriately done. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Next one. We all have a reason why. I was just curious what your reason why is that you wanted to be on the Planning Commission.
Well, I've been on it for 4 years. I moved to Oakdale 10 years ago, fell in love with this community. My wife and I have lived here. We have sons, daughters, and grandkids living here in this town. I operate my business here, global headquarters, and fellowship here through the churches. I find it a beautiful community, and I believe that through my experience and expertise of just about 5 million square feet of commercial development and brokerage and economic growth, I've got a perspective and a value to add to any planning commission oversighting the review of these projects, so.
Thank you. Last one. As a realtor, do you view growth differently, through a different lens than most people, and how do you view growth as a realtor?
I'm not a realtor.
Oh. Down here, retail, real estate agent?
Yeah, well, yeah, let me help you with that. Commercial Retail Associates is the company of which I'm a part of. I am by the definition of the California Real Estate Board, I am an agent, I am not a broker. I am not a realtor. Realtor is a designation headed for residential agents, not commercial agents.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, cool. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Before you walk away, I just want to say thank you for being willing to serve, because sometimes it's hard to fill those positions. So thank you for being willing to serve on the Planning Commission.
You're welcome. Likewise. We all love the community we all share and we all serve, and sometimes it's a thankless job, so I truly appreciate your comments.
I have talked to a few commissioners, and they said you are just a wealth of knowledge. I know we don't go to the, planning commission meetings, but I've heard different things about how you've decided, have you made decisions, and how you've really thought a lot about each agenda item. So I just want to thank you for your expertise and your willingness to continue to serve on the commission. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else, questions? If not, this is an action item.
Thank you.
Motion to
Thank you.
approve 8.1 tonight?
I second that motion.
First and a second roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettering,
Yes.
and Mayor Barrios.
Yes, this item passes 5-0. Thank you, and congratulations, Brian. All right, City Council consent agenda. Any council
Mayor,
members?
we have
We have two more
the other two.
appointments.
Oh,
for the
excuse
senior
me,
committee.
sorry. 8.2. I thought we were doing them all together. Don't mind me. All right, consider appointment of Will Pringle. He is out of town today. He did message me earlier. So we needed anybody have questions?
No questions about Will.
This is an action item.
I motion to approve item 8.2.
I will second that motion.
First and a second roll call, please.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
You know what, let me take a pause. I was going to bring this up if he was here, but he's got 23 years of service, 2 seniors in his background. He
He-
is the perfect candidate. for
Yeah,
this
he
position.
actually is, works with the Senior Care Center right there by Oakdale Hospital. So he runs the show over there. Really, really nice young man.
With that being said, I'm seconding 8.2.
First and a second for 8.2.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettering,
Yes.
and Mayor Barrios.
Yes, this item passes 5-0. Thank you, Colleen. And item 8.3, consider appointment of Christy Inuncio as Commissioner to the Senior Advisory Commission. Are you the one on this?
I am.
You're on that, okay. All right, any questions about Christy? Any
I
questions?
am pretty excited for Christy to serve on this committee because she moved to Oakdale, I believe, 2 years ago, and she full force wants to be in this community and volunteers and everything. So this is a great candidate.
As much as I volunteer with the seniors, she is a crafty lady with arts and plants and so forth. She's another perfect candidate for this commission. So if there's no other comment, I'd like to motion to approve 8.3.
I second that motion.
First and a second roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettering,
Yes.
and Mayor Barrios.
Yes, this item passes 5-0. Thank you to the 3 for wanting to serve, volunteer in your community. All right, now it's time for the City Council consent agenda. Any council member have an item they'd like to pull to discuss? Any
Well, I'd like to
questions?
spend 20 or 30 minutes talking about 9.9, the cancellation of the regular city council meeting scheduled for May 19th, and I think this is probably due to the threat of me having the next
Shortest council meeting, yes,
ever.
that's the truth, yeah.
Is that what's going on
Yeah,
here?
you can
just
bet
said
on that,
You didn't
yeah.
wanna, you didn't want to have
Yeah.
that threat.
What was your council meeting, 13 minutes?
14 minutes, I could bring it down to 13. So I just want to say, anybody wants to show up On the 19th here, I'll unlock the doors and we can have a little 12-minute meeting.
Oh, you are not going to have a 12-minute meeting. That's funny, Mr. Jokester.
Okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
First and a second, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettering,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
and Mayor Barrios.
Yes, this item passes 5-0. Thank you.
Why are we canceling?
All right, 10.1. So the next item on tonight's agenda is 10.1, a public hearing to consider amended Articles 1, 5, 6, and 8 of Chapter 18 of the Oakdale Municipal Code related to the regulation of motor vehicles and traffic to enhance downtown parking management. We'll first have a presentation, and then we will open the public hearing to receive public comment. Good evening.
This is 245 pages of tonight's agenda. Colleen, can we have a 3-minute timer, please?
I'll read as fast as possible. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So, well, it's my pleasure to provide you guys a presentation. I'll be short. But good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Thank you to city staff that were involved in the project, and thank you for public participation throughout. Let me just make sure this is working. So just by way, since it's been a few months since we were here, I'll give a brief introduction about who I am. My name is Elliot Holt. I work for Dixon Resources Unlimited. Give you guys a little bit of a background about the company in case anybody's just tuning in on the project. Give you a little overview of the project and a summary of what we've done to date, and then dig into the parking ordinance that's up for consideration this evening. So Dixon Resources, we're a parking, transportation, and mobility company, consulting firm servicing clients all across the state and across the country. We like to take a holistic approach when we're reviewing parking programs, developing strategic recommendations that work for the communities that we work with, and then ultimately, a lot of clients will bring us back in an implementation capacity, either to put to service those recommendations that we provide or help implement other strategic plan elements. Oh, the whole thing up? Oh, thank you, fantastic. Ultimately, we start off with understanding the needs of the community, understanding what the objectives are on a short-term, long-term basis, and then also developing strategic and actionable recommendations that we can use that considers both the user experience, but also adopts an incremental approach. So start small, work towards bigger over time. We don't like Band-Aid solutions. We're not gonna just recommend installing parking meters downtown. That's not gonna fix your problem. It's gonna push it somewhere else. So we're always chasing our tail. And we like to look at things proactively, developing a baseline, like the code that we're presenting this evening for consideration, that allows the city an opportunity to proactively address challenges before they become problems. We also look to get to the core root of the problem before they become larger problems. We always make sure that we're gut checking ourselves, making sure that we're actually addressing the issues that are raised either through stakeholder engagement or through our data collection process, using that data to then develop data-driven decisions, and then also we always like to have a compliance-based approach when it comes to the recommendations that we make. We like people to we like to make recommendations that are easy to comply with. Our thought process on it is parking should always be easy, convenient, and accessible. Brief overview of the project to date. We started off with a two-phased approach to developing a downtown parking management plan. Started off with an operational needs assessment. We came on site. We met with various stakeholders with both the city but also downtown businesses. We provided some data collection, and a big thank you to city staff. The parking aides made that a seamless process. They were out there, rain, shine, or summer heat, and collecting data using a cool technology, utilizing license plate recognition technology to understand parking occupancy downtown. We've provided a number of opportunities for the community to be engaged, three community meetings, and a digital public survey that was widely circulated throughout the community. Phase 2 involved a municipal code review. We also put together some financial modeling to evaluate different parking scenarios and management strategies, including a feasibility for some of the more advanced parking management strategies and technology that the city could entertain over the future. All of that fit into the development of the downtown parking management plan something we like to call a parking action plan because it involves not only strategic recommendations for future consideration, but also implementation guidelines that the city can use as a checklist to implement over time. Summary of some of the aspects of the project. We, again, provided a number of opportunities for the community to be involved. 3 different meetings resulted in a couple themes being presented. Challenges that stakeholders and the community members that attended those meetings shared with us were issues with downtown parking time limits, parking availability, again downtown, and also parking enforcement. Those themes were recurring throughout the interviews that we provided with downtown businesses, but also the stakeholder meetings, including the Oakdale Merchant Group. The digital survey was well received, over 654 responses. The questions of the survey were categorized into different stakeholder groups, including Oakdale residents, downtown businesses, owners and employees, and also visitors, along with a couple general questions that everybody were able to respond to. The survey results at a high level, a few key takeaways that are worth sharing is 49% of downtown visitors typically parked for 2 hours or less. Roughly a third of the respondents needed up to about 3 hours downtown when they visit. 48% of survey respondents agreed with the statement they would like to prioritize on-street parking for shorter parking sessions, meaning 2 hours or less, and then utilize the off-street parking locations for longer durations, greater than 2 hours. 69% of downtown business owners were in favor of increasing time limits downtown up to 3 or 4 hours. We also noted that 77% of downtown business owners and 88% of employees utilize public parking downtown. There's not a lot of private parking available. A lot of these business owners and their employees are parking within 1 block of their workplace. Also worth noting that when asked, 46% of the downtown business owner and employee groups responded that they would consider buying a permit if it allowed them to more readily find parking in a designated employee parking area. The results of the parking utilization study in general showed that there's underutilization of parking resources downtown. You can see the study area there in the map depicting roughly the downtown area and some of the adjacent streets. Overall, this underutilization, meaning less than 85% occupancy on a block face. This is an industry standard that we use for our parking studies. 85%, give or take, on a block face, meaning a side of a street between intersections, is about 1 to 2 parking spaces available on that block face. So more than that means that there is a high demand for parking in that area and limited parking. We did notice a few locations downtown on East Street and South 3rd Avenue where we exceeded that 85% periodically. Overall, in general, it was underutilized throughout the study area. We did notice some trends. On-street parking was more occupied than off-street parking, and the average length of stay was actually between 3 and 6 hours, which included some locations that have posted 2-hour time limits. Overall, to develop the parking management plan, we did some financial modeling, as I mentioned, looking at current parking revenues and costs, but also doing some feasibility for some more advanced parking management, e.g. Technology solutions that might help optimize the efficiency of the parking management and enforcement processes. Ultimately, paid parking would need to be the tool that provides the capital to look at some of these more advanced technologies and solutions, and it's just not feasible for the city at this time. We did do a model for an employee permit program that operated on a cost recovery basis, and so that is included in the parking action plan for consideration over the future. Again, the parking action plan is the document that was attached to the packet for this item. It includes 11 different strategies across 4 broad categories that the city can look at for future guidance and in consideration. Looking at the different categories, we have parking program management and policies, downtown parking management, permit programs, and also parking enforcement. We did the review with the city staff and identified just at a 30,000 foot level, the code is a little bit old, a little bit unflexible when it comes to hourly parking time limits and also enforcement hours for downtown locations. The inflexibility of the code means that the city just really can't respond to things in real time. So we developed some draft language for consideration tonight that the city can adopt in order to provide a baseline in order to more readily and efficiently respond to changes in demand downtown. We do see that there's a strong support for different time limits downtown, and also some short-term options on street. I'll give you just a real high-level review of some of the recommended amendments. We looked at 4 different articles within Chapter 18. Article 1, we're restating the definition for the Central Traffic District. Within that district, authorizing city staff to be able to designate time-limited parking and short-term parking areas. Also establishing an enforcement tool allowing the city to enforce a minimum distance requirement so that vehicles have to move a certain distance every, say, 2 hours or 30 minutes in order to comply with those time limits. We're authorizing enforcement and just restating the enforcement authority of city staff and also including third-party contractors. We established some parking restrictions and preferential permit parking as authorized by resolution of city council as a mechanism to address time limits throughout town, and primarily in the downtown. Also, we defined some off-street locations and the boundaries for those lots, and established some use restrictions for EV charging within those lots, and restated some overnight parking restrictions in some streets downtown. In Article 4, we redefined some of the curb markings and the definitions of those. Just worthy to note that the active use of loading zones was included in those definitions for commercial and passenger loading, just as an enforcement tool for the city. We also established an oversized vehicle parking restriction to help prevent the abuse of oversized vehicles parking in the downtown. For Article 5, we're suggesting that we use this article for the establishment of paid parking and permit parking processes. For the paid parking, at least, the code language is very consistent with what other cities are doing in California. Pursuant to the California Vehicle Code, any on-street hourly rates need to be defined by ordinance and adopted by ordinance. They do allow for a range of fees to be adopted. So the suggested language tonight has a range of fees and hours of enforcement that the city can operate within over time should demand for paid parking increase. We also included residential and employee permit parking programs, including administrative guidelines, and also the parameters necessary in order to operate those types of programs. A lot of these programs, well, all of these would require staff to bring a recommendation to council. So that's, again, if there's demand for one of these programs, staff would bring that recommendation to you all for a decision and consideration. Article 8, very minor changes here. Again, just adding the active use of the passenger and commercial loading zones, and also removing a redundant definition for parking meter, which is earlier defined in Article 5 in the suggested language. And with that, I'll hand it over to Interim City Manager if he has any other thoughts or comments.
I'd just like to thank Dixon Resources. It's easy to make decisions when you have the data to back it up, and what they provided us is an extremely comprehensive report with data that we can take action on. I think that their recommendations, if the ordinance is passed tonight, I think that their recommendations will assist with some of the issues that we previously experienced in the downtown parking area. So again, I'd like to thank them for their assistance in this important community matter.
So Jerry, when we first started this, what was it, a year and a half ago? When we were, was it about a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
And I remember Brian at that time went pretty much door to door. I went almost every business, if not every business, and talked to the business owners and the employees. And it was interesting because there was a social media post and everybody thought that they had the same answer and the same concerns, but going door to door, they did not. And they didn't know what their neighbor wanted, but they thought that it was the same thing that they want, and they did not. And that was very interesting to me to find out about that. But I'm really glad that we took this route to pay you to do the study, because it's not a Brian Whitemeyer thing or a Cher Barrios thing or a city council thing. It is strictly coming from you guys. and after doing the work. So I also like seeing this, and yeah, I entertain more conversation from council.
Thank you.
I'd like the city manager to address 2 words, paid parking at this point.
Yeah, so what we did and what they recommended in the ordinance is to update the paid parking. We had paid parking in our ordinance previously. It was just very ambiguous. So the city staff has no intention of bringing paid parking downtown. Zero interest in it. It would be extremely difficult for us to manage with the amount of employees that we have, and we think we have an efficient operation within the city. We don't want to change that. So we put this in, we updated it for potential future use. And when I say future, I don't envision ever bringing it to the city council.
So this is, like I said, 245 pages of tonight's packet. 20-something pages is the updated parking ordinance. I've had a bunch of questions. City manager has answered them for me. I'd recommend everybody just take an hour to read those 20 pages. But there's also 215 pages from Dixon. You were pretty thorough. On page 129, it lists the 11 things that you highly recommend. And if you guys will allow me, I'd like to read the 11 things.
Yep.
A, establish policies that are consistent with the current best practices. B, adopt a refreshed parking ordinance to update codes and policies. C, improve communication with the Oakdale community. D, adopt parking restrictions in the downtown area based on current demand. E, leverage technology for data-driven decision-making. Here's the big one that we're going to hear about. F, eliminate the special parking permit program. G, establish an employee parking permit program. H, explore the need for a residential parking permit program. I, adjust staffing and work schedules to enforce posted regulations. J, leverage technology to optimize the enforcement. And K, updated citation fines and fees to promote compliance. That's pretty thorough, and I think that's good. But the rest, I mean, I highly recommend spending a few hours reading the 200 pages here, because they dug deep. It was a good deep dive into our situation.
Thank you. We're happy to do it.
All right, any other questions?
Oh, I also want to point out, I'm sorry, there's one more thing. You did point out in here that a paid parking situation is a money loser for the city. It's going to cost more to enforce than it is with the money that we can bring in.
It's nuanced. I won't say you're wrong, because in some conversations with other California cities just this week, a lot of cities are facing structural deficits and they have paid parking. So it's not a guaranteed win, regardless. It would be, like I said, a nuanced objective for us to try. And at this time, we don't really see it's feasible for the city to attempt paid parking downtown.
Okay, and the last point that I've got that I'd like to bring up is the new distance to move your vehicle. You can't just move it 2 slots down. It's 150 feet. I need everybody to spread the word. It's 150 feet. That's a block, so move your vehicle.
All right, does council have any questions?
So for the no overnight parking in the ordinance, Jerry, can you tell me is that currently a rule that we're not supposed to park our car overnight in the downtown district?
Just based off memory, I think that we already have no overnight parking in certain areas down there.
Certain
I
areas.
don't recall what they are.
Okay,
Those areas are posted.
I think
Yeah.
Mr. Holt just mimicked what we already had in the ordinance.
Correct.
okay.
So there's no change there.
Okay, just making sure, because I know we do have several bars in our downtown and people do park their cars overnight so that they can get home safely without getting a DUI.
Absolutely.
I'm all for that.
Any other questions?
I don't know if it's a question or more of a comment. Thank you. I was not on the council when all this started. I had read through some of it a few months ago. In my former life career, data was how my decisions were driven, and so I kind of dug in it probably more than I needed to at 11:30 last night. But what I really liked about it, and I asked the city manager about this last night in a question, is what I like about this is it's a roadmap to let the city make its decisions as we move on. There's nothing really that I'm seeing tonight that is drastically changing a lot of things going on in the city, but it's giving the framework for the city to be able to make decisions and bring to the council so we can look at things in the future. And that's what I truly liked about it is, you know, we're not hammering everything all at once. It's allowing the city to adopt things as we need it, as things need to be brought back to the council and decisions can be made. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any other questions, comments from
Hey,
council?
good work on I was reading through it from Friday and some today, and then talking with Jerry. It's a lot of weight here. You guys did a lot of work. So in a nutshell, can we get exactly what we're voting on tonight? We're not moving forward with the stuff Chris pointed out with the paid parking and the limitations and stuff like that. I think, can we get a little bit of a just
Clarification of what we're voting
yeah,
on
what
tonight.
exactly for folks watching and folks here?
First hearing, right?
Yeah.
So what you'll be voting on tonight is to accept the amendments to the ordinance.
Okay.
Then from there, we will bring back the recommended times from Dixon Resources. We didn't put, the reason we're not bringing that to you tonight is because we have to have the ordinance before we can actually bring it to you. So
And
what
how
we're
I-
bringing to you is something that makes it more flexible for staff and for city council to react to when our community asks us to change things.
And how I read it, we're not changing anything at the moment.
It's not
The- We changed quite a bit of the ordinance.
The ordinance, but we're not enforcing the stuff that was in the presentation, like the paid parking and,
No,
yeah.
no,
'Cause
so,
that's what I got feedback on. People were worried about paid parking and the 2 hours, but it was posted 3 hours, stuff we kind of talked about today.
right, so, once this ordinance is adopted, or the amendments are adopted, the city's gonna go through, we're gonna change the 2-hour parking signs to whatever we decide that it's gonna be. And we're basically gonna refresh the downtown with the parking signs so that it's not ambiguous, because right now it's extremely ambiguous.
Okay.
So basically, we're cleaning things up, we're making it easier for people to understand, and we're making it easier for city council to react when asked to.
All right, the public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak, please state your first and last name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comment. Go ahead and come up to the mic. Hi, Bianca. Good evening.
Good evening, Bianca Signorelli, Oakdale. In all this when we started with the parking, one of the things in one of the community things that we had was the handicap parking, and I never see that brought up back again, especially for like a spot where the orthotics can be done for Harvey's Shoe Repair or down there. I don't see a clear area for handicap parking. Are we going to address that in this? Would this ordinance part be where it should be addressed, or is this somewhere else we're addressing after this ordinance does when we address parking? Does that make sense?
It's a valid concern. But
Staff will take that into consideration. Keep in mind that this is public comment. We're not going to answer questions at this time.
Thank you, Bianca. Anyone else for public comment?
Jerry, for the handicap spot, we have been talking about that for a while, and I believe there is only one handicap spot downtown. Am I correct, or how many are there?
Jeff,
I don't know.
Jeff,
We'll research that for you.
Mr. Gavil, several, right? You pointed several out to me on the downtown map.
Yeah, there are several. In matter of fact, just recently, we added another one in the newly striped and sealed parking lot there behind Fred's Firearms.
Okay, thank you.
And I remember when Harvey's first came up on that, and what I was told was it was on a state highway, and you can't back a wheelchair out to have that space on the state highway. So that's what I was told the last time it was brought up.
So what city staff will do is I'll consult with Elliot Holt from Dixon Resources and see if they took an inventory of our handicap parking and what their recommendation is so that we can bring it back to you if needed.
Thank you. All right, no further public comment. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to city council.
Okay, I just want to be clear here, and I don't want to throw the wrench into this, but we got 25 pages of ordinance here that we are approving, and there are a lot of changes to our, so if you haven't read it, you shouldn't be voting tonight because there's a lot of stuff that has changed in here.
Paid parking is not one of them,
Nope.
correct?
That's
Correct.
I mean, you said it earlier, but paid parking is not one of them.
But
Okay.
there's a lot of technicalities in here that we all need to be aware of.
All right, any other discussion? This is an action item. Would a council member like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kettering,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes, I've read it through and I'm good with the changes, with the explanations that the chief gave me.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
and Mayor Barrios.
Yes, this item passes 5-0. Thank you, Colleen. And thank you for your thorough report, and also Jerry, thank you as well.
Absolutely, thank you all.
Have a
Thank you,
nice
Elliot.
evening.
I'd like a public PSA, if you will, on social media on this, so that we spread the good word, if you will.
Yeah, we'll do
So
it
that
on,
everybody can be on the same page, so take out any, unclear items, if that makes sense.
yes.
Thank you.
So
Also-
we'll do it on the city website and the police department.
Thank you.
Or
you also-
the city Facebook and the police
Yeah.
department Facebook.
Can you also link to the new ordinance so they can jump right to it?
We should be able to do that. I think I could probably put a link of the new ordinance
Thank you.
on the city website too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
we
really,
can put it on the website. It
Yeah.
won't be in the municipal code just yet,
No.
until our publisher publishes it, but we can put it on the
Yeah.
website.
I think it's important so that the people of our community hear it straight from you.
And
And
keep in mind,
Yeah,
this is the first reading. The
Right.
second reading will take place on June 2nd,
okay.
and then it will be in effect 30 days after that.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's a couple months out.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right, 11.1. Jerry.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, members
Good
of the
evening.
council. Before you is the utility feasibility study. So we're here to consider by minute order approving a feasibility study to consolidate electric services under the Modesto Irrigation District. Our current situation is Oakdale is served by two electric companies, Modesto Irrigation District and Pacific Gas and Electric. The dual provider model causes rate disparities for both residential and commercial properties within the city of Oakdale. So those, in other words, those on PG&E are paying a much higher rate than those on MID. So we have an opportunity for lower rates if we go with MID. MID is local governed and publicly owned, and so there's a potential cost savings for the residents of the city of Oakdale. The feasibility study, we would engage with MID and the California Public Utilities Commission. It would basically give us guidelines on how to coordinate with legal counsel, CPUC, LAFCO, and how to conduct public outreach and financial analysis to determine the feasibility of annexation, or to determine the feasibility of actually getting this done. So some rate comparisons. This is for households only. I did not take into consideration businesses within the city of Oakdale when we did this comparison, just because I don't have a reference on how many businesses. It was easy to do residential and see, just based on that, how easy, or the rate comparison. So PG&E right now has about a 40 cents off-peak for 1 kilowatt hour. I'm sorry, 40 cents for off-peak and 63 cents for peak, while MID is 18 cents for the first 500 kilowatt hours and 21 cents thereafter for 850 kilowatts. So I spoke with a few people who said that 850 kilowatts is about the average that households are using now. So with PG&E, an annual household with 850 kilowatts, 850 kilowatt hours would be about $5,000. MID would be about $2,000, so a savings of $3,000 per household. Now, I used MID's model on this comparison just because to do the 850 kilowatt hours, there's no easy way to compare them because the modeling just doesn't work. So citywide household savings excluding Bridle Ridge and the Vineyards because they're already on MID. So I estimated about 7,000 homes on PG&E. It would be approximate $21,588,000 in savings annually to our community. So the fiscal impact, if we go with option one, is initial funding required for the study. I don't know what that's going to be, and I won't know until if City Council gives us direction to contact consultation firms. I estimate it's going to be anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 just based on my previous experience. That the cost would be included in the 25-26 budget, and then MID would require some additional costs. They would require a system impact study. In other words, if they were to transition over to Oakdale, how would it impact them? They estimate that to be $50,000, and then they would have to do a facility study, and that would be about another $50,000. That doesn't come with the feasibility study. Okay, I want that to be clear. If you give staff direction to contact the consultation firms, we don't necessarily have to move forward with these fees immediately. Okay, and then option two would be no fiscal impact. So staff's recommendation is to go with option one or option two. So option one is to direct staff to contact consultation firms for proposal to conduct the feasibility study, and then option two is just to leave it at the current status. And this is a very high-level overview of what this is. I'm not going to be able to answer every question that somebody could come up with. So just because I don't know a whole lot about the electricity, this is basically just based on my research over the last couple months trying to bring this to City Council as requested.
So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this, because this is a lot of work. So thank you for that. Yes.
Can I say, okay, first, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but I've been hearing, I'm not throwing you under the bus, I've been hearing Sheriff Barrios talk about this for 6 years that I've been sitting here. So don't hold your breath is what I'm saying. But I'll be first in line to say, heck yeah, on this, even if it costs the city money to do these studies. Because, I mean, as long as we are guaranteeing people that the rates are going to decrease, which is obvious. Can you go back to the chart of pricing? Leave that right there. Leave that up for a minute. Because I'm a solar user, so my PG&E bill rates from $30 to negative $20, but at the end of the year, I have a close to $1,500 true-up surprise. In my opinion, it just still means it's $100 a month that I'm paying. But if you told me that would go to zero, I'm all in. Because I take care of a lot of houses in town. I help out seniors and so forth. And when they open their PG&E bill and say, I don't know where I'm coming up with $1,500, I just don't have it. And PG&E's big answer is, oh, we can put you on a payment plan. Well, payment plan, if you don't have $1,500, you don't have it. This is the best, and I'm saying, this is the best thing that we have been able to give to the residents of Oakdale since I've been sitting in this chair.
Keep in mind that this is just a feasibility study.
Right.
I like the enthusiasm. I like the enthusiasm, but the feasibility study could come back and say this is not possible.
Right.
So we need to go in with an open mind.
But you definitely got some teeth in it, and that's what I love. I love that.
MID might say, hey, we
Yeah.
can't possibly cover your town. We don't have enough electricity.
Exactly.
This probably, you said you don't know a lot about this, so what about these, do you know anything on how that would affect solar? I mean, obviously, a lot of us have solar. It could just only help.
It just
Help
drops us
us?
into the 18 cents a kilowatt hour rate. We never reached, night peak or.
So if you have enough solar that you're not seeing a bill, it's not going to help you one bit. If you have solar in the amount that you're still getting a bill, having a reduced rate could potentially, you could still see a significant savings.
So tonight, all you're asking is, do we want to go through with this? It could be $50,000 to $75,000. You would contact the company, and then come back to council to say, here's how much it's going to cost for the feasibility study, and do we want to approve it? That's what we're saying today.
That's exactly what we're
Correct.
saying. I didn't want to start contact, so no, keep in mind, I did contact MID and some other folks that have experience in this, because I couldn't put MID up here saying, hey, let's bring them on board
Yeah.
without asking them.
I want to say one more thing, if I may.
So,
Contacting MID, you were saying.
yeah, I contacted them to let them know, I didn't want them to be blindsided, is what I'm saying, and then
Yeah.
there was another point that I was gonna make, but maybe it'll come back to me later.
Okay.
I think every one of us reads social media posts, and I have never seen a social media post that said, wow, my MID bill was just outrageous, but I've seen hundreds that saying the PG&E bill is outrageous, so
I want it to be clear, I'm not taking a position on any company that's better than others. I'm just pointing out the different rates.
I'll
Thank you.
point it out.
Any questions
So-
for Jerry from council?
When you and I started talking about this a few months ago, we talked and I told you how passionate I was. I'll go to the Capitol and stand on the doorsteps with you if we need to knock on doors and, do what we gotta do. I think this the last city council meeting, we talked about the water study and, we brought up the cost of living and, I was one of the ones that made the social media post and put it out there to get people talking about it and get people motivated. And, I know for personally comparing my house that is on MID, that was the only reason I bought my house, and comparing it to the friends of mine that are on PG&E and the struggles, it's extreme. And every natural disaster, then the rates go up. It's just not fair to us as residents to pay that. And I'll tell any CEO of a major company, I don't care. So I think it's fair for us to stand up for the residents. And, people love Oakdale, and I'm at a loss for words because it really ticks me off how much we have to pay. And, it's not easy, coming up with $1,500, like you said. Like, I know a lot of people, a lot of grandparents and people that are on single income or, Social Security, and, it's not right. And if we can hand this, it will be a long, tough road to hoe, but if we can hand this to our residents, it would be pretty.
And you know what, I
Awesome.
can't speak for the residents of this town, but if we were to tell the residents of this town, hey man, it might cost you $300 connection fee, but $300, you pay $300 and you're gonna save $3,000 a year, this year and every year forward.
And I think, if you're saving that, that's money that people can put into their 401k, save for their kids to go to college. People that are typically renting for ridiculous rates,
Yeah.
they can start saving to buy a home. Because let's be honest, we've all been talking about housing for quite some time now, and people are getting ream dry. So, if that doesn't motivate us to saddle up and go fight this, I don't know what will. And so I'm fully on board and pretty riled up about it.
Back to my first comment, don't hold your breath, but I'm
Wow.
very excited about this too.
And keep in mind that my estimation of the consultant, I have no idea.
You'll bring it back to us.
We'll bring it back to you, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it came in at 20,000. I wouldn't be surprised if it came in at 200,000. We just don't know what the price
First
is going to
step
be.
right now is if we approve it, that's when you go, then you bring it back to us. What do you think the turnaround time would be? 30 days, 60 days? You'll probably start on it right away, right? For you to bring it back to council.
I imagine it would take them a couple weeks to get it back to me, and then to get information ready for city council could be a month or two.
But not during my next meeting on May 19th.
Ha ha, Mr. Smith. All right, yes.
Quick couple of questions. One is it one company we're looking at, or are we going out to get bids from more than one company that can perform the same service?
For the feasibility study?
So for the feasibility study, there's nothing that says we can't just go to the company that we know would perform the best for us.
Okay. And
But
then-
but that doesn't mean that's what we'll do. I have a couple in mind. they might not be interested. I just don't know how much interest they'll have in this.
Fair enough, and you know from comments that I've asked over the last several months, I'm a real big person on wanting to get multiple bids and then the city making a decision what's on best for them. The other question I have is, when you went back, and I can't remember what slide it was, it talked about the cost of the feasibility study and then potentially other costs that could be 50,000 here, 50,000 there. Would those be only when we know it's going to be positive going forward?
So that's the timing that I have to figure out.
Okay.
MID says that this will be required. It won't be required for me to get a consultant that can do the feasibility study and bring that price to you.
Fair enough.
That's when I would have to coordinate with MID and say, when do we need the system impact study and the facility study for this feasibility study?
Because my biggest concern is we pay, I'll just use round numbers, $50,000 for a feasibility study, and they say it's positive. And then we go and we add another $100,000 to $150,000 for the system impact study, facility study, and then MID says, oh, we can't do it. So the city's out over $100,000 out of a, we all know budgets are tight. And so that's where my concern is, we're putting out all this money down the road for nothing. The feasibility study, I'm all in.
I'm
That
gonna
is-
jump in, because we wouldn't pay the feasibility study plus the additional costs unless the feasibility study, which was the first one,
Came back feasible.
came back feasible. So
No,
we're
these-
only on the hook for the
We got to be
feasibility
careful
study.
with that,
That's
Councilmember
not what
Smith.
I'm hearing.
Yeah, we got to be careful with that because I don't know. The consultant might say, get these done first. So I don't know exactly how
Okay.
the schedule for this goes. Councilmember Kettering is correct. We could spend $150,000 and discover we can go nowhere with this.
Okay, all right, so.
That's
again,
my biggest concern, and I think that, when it comes to city budgets and that, I'm ultra conservative.
Okay.
And I don't want to see money spent, especially when we're talking in tough budget times over the next probably couple of years, that we're spending $150,000 to $200,000. That's 2 staff members.
I completely agree, and that's why I'm bringing you 2 options.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, any public comment?
Are you on
For
MID?
city staff? Sure, come up
Are
to
you
the
on
mic
MID? Yeah.
and state your name. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and City Attorney. My name is Eric Alvarez. I'm with PG&E Local Government Affairs out of the Stockton Division. I'm going to lower this here. The other gentleman is a little taller than me. I'm here today to speak on this item, the consideration of a feasibility study to consolidate electric service under MID. I want to start by saying that we are proud to serve electricity to our customers in the city of Oakdale. While we are not perfect, we are working hard to be the electric and gas utility that you all expect us to be. We understand that affordability is top of mind for the city and its residents. This year alone, our electric rates are down year over year compared to 2024. Our projections show lower rates again in 2026, and the goal moving forward is for rates to not exceed normal inflation of 2 to 4%. We are actively working to cut costs even further by reducing our own operating and capital costs, as well as our infrastructure financing costs. A few examples include, in the last 2 years, the company has saved more than $2.5 billion in operating and capital costs. The Department of Energy recently approved a $15 billion loan that will pay for grid modernization work that will save customers an estimated $1 billion over the life of the loan. Starting in 2026, the price per kilowatt hour will go down roughly 5 cents when the fixed charge rate structure goes into effect, which will benefit the average customer in high heat areas like Oakdale. Fixed charge rate structures are already used by TID and MID. We are also working closely with the state government and agencies to identify opportunities to reduce state mandated programs and restructure current requirements that would further reduce customer bills. The staff report on this item acknowledges how difficult and complicated this process would be. Hostile eminent domain takeover attempts are drawn out and expensive endeavors, and we think it's important to tell you up front that PG&E is not interested in negotiating a sale. Cities and agencies that have gone down the path of municipalization often commit significant financial resources, as was just discussed, to to the effort, even before getting to the point of acquiring assets. A notable example, the South San Joaquin Irrigation District estimates it has spent roughly $28 million since 2008 in its efforts to acquire PG&E's infrastructure. As mentioned earlier, we fully acknowledge the challenges California utilities face with the affordability of energy, but I need to point out that the staff report skews our rates to show a bigger disparity than actually exists. I have our team working to provide an accurate analysis of our rates and will follow up with staff to ensure they have the correct numbers. I've already spoken with Interim City Manager Ramar as well. In addition to the rate comparison, one must also factor in the cost of acquiring our assets, cost of severance and necessary facility upgrades, all of which would add significantly to the cost. Mayor, I have about maybe 20 seconds. To the cost, raising the rates of customers for MID. We would urge the council to have conversations with impacted and neighboring agencies to understand the issues further before commissioning a costly study. And I will follow up as local government affairs representative out of the Stockton Division with the mayor, council, and staff to discuss this item further, answer any questions that you may have. And this is a huge undertaking, and it will be critical to have all the information before you to make the decision to expend city resources on this study. We are committed to providing safe, clean, and reliable and affordable energy to our customers in Oakdale. And while we understand the focus on affordability, exploring a public takeover that isn't viable and will create additional risks and costs will not benefit residents and customers. I appreciate it. Again, I'm Eric Alvarez, Local Government Affairs Representative out of the Stockton Division.
Thank you for meeting with me a few months ago, and thank you for being here this evening. I look forward to us meeting with Jerry Ramar once you get those updated numbers. So if we can get something on the calendar next couple weeks, that would be great.
Definitely, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We can't talk.
All right, anyone else for
No.
public comment? Come on up, state your name again. Huh?
I think Jared would like to say a few words.
So I assume he was a representative from PG&E?
He is.
Okay, so it's not just the fees for PG&E, it's all the added charges they also put onto their bill. And we have no control or to go to address PG&E issues, where MID, we have a board locally, so that's very important. Also, in Oakdale, mostly it is PG&E in our older town areas. Well, a lot of those are rentals or people that are on fixed income. So to turn around and put solar on them, it's not gonna happen. But yet you get a renter in there and then they get socked with $1,000 PG&E bill that pretty much drives them back on paying their rent or destroying the houses and these type of things. So I would just hope that the city council would at least go as far as the feasibility study. I thoroughly understand PG&E is gonna make it very hard, and I think we need to look at that part from a legal standpoint, and if they have the ability and how we could, because he obviously said that they're not gonna sell it or do it, so will all this come from a feasibility study, and if so, I hope so.
Thank you.
I do not live in the richest part of Oakdale. I live in a pretty low-income community, and I know that my neighbors, if we were able to switch to MID, they could, I'm talking about people who live in maybe a 600 square foot apartment. They might be able to run their ACs during the summer, run their heaters. Those are things that most of us on the council do take for granted because we don't have to worry about that. But I do live next to people who have to run the fans all summer and are actually hot, very hot. So if we could do this feasibility study and help our constituents who can't pay for AC or heating, then that would be great.
Quick
Thank you.
comment, power is out right now on the west side of town.
Yeah. I heard that PG&E's trying to lower rates, trying to make it more affordable. Then do it. I mean, MID's able to do it. TID's able to do it. SSJD, they're able to do it. PG&E, do it. Okay? I mean, you're double, if not more, on your rates. People in California can't do it. It's not right. and you want to throw stuff to deter us, that's fine. It's good. If I see black Suburbans circling my house, I'll know who it is. But in all seriousness, we need to do the feasibility test. We need to see this out. And, you know, I'm on MID, and I have a 1,900 square foot house.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I have not paid over $160 in 5 years. And I keep that thermostat at 69 degrees. And to hear other people that can't do that, I have little kids, you know. You can't have houses that are 78 degrees just because they can't afford to pay their, it's not right. It's not good for health.
Because your utility out-of-pocket expenses comes right out of your grocery out-of-pocket expenses.
100%.
And right out of your car insurance out-of-pocket
Your
expenses.
gas expenses for the month to get to work.
We've got 2 or 3 refineries down in California. Gas went up another $1.50. So, I mean, just keep hitting you with expenses, so.
All right, thank you. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk. This is kind of a conversation piece for me. I do a lot of energy efficiency work. Oh, I'm sorry, Severiano Magino. I do a lot of energy efficiency work. I work both with PG&E, MID, TID, all utility companies. When I first started doing this, we get what we call blended rates from PG&E to figure out what their average paying per on rate. When I first started doing this about 13 years ago, MID's blended rate comes in at around 12 cents per kilowatt. This was 13 years ago. At that point, PG&E's was approximately 20 cents. In 13 years, it's gone up from 20 cents, where my blended rates now are coming in at almost 50 cents. And that's a lot of commercial stuff too, but it doesn't change much between commercial and resident. You have a 1,900 square foot house, you pay $160 a month. I got a 1,300 square foot house, I pay $500 a month.
Can you say that again? Can you repeat that paragraph?
He has a 1,900 square foot house, he pays $160. I have a 1,300 square foot house, I pay $500, pretty much on an average.
During the summer, my 650 square foot apartment, to run the AC, I pay $500 a month.
Yeah.
So
It's to say that PG&E is trying to lower their rates is very misleading, because I mean I myself went through my other half, my better half, went through a cancer scenario, and people that are unhealthy like that cannot live in an environment where the house is either too hot or too cold. Her mother has got more problems than anybody else, and she lives in a little 700 square foot apartment, and she's paying $200-300 a month. So it's very, I almost wonder whether there's some kind of a connection between the CPUC, the PG&E, the California big government, because somewhere along the line something's not right. As a matter of fact, PG&E, if I remember correctly, I think it was last year, they made the most money they've ever made, ever. So I'm really confused on the whole thought process of where this is coming from, how we're trying to lower our rates. They're not trying to lower the rates. What they continue to do is raise the rates. That's all they've ever done since I've been working with all these utility companies. It's never changed. It's just getting worse and worse all the time, unfortunately. So I think it would be a really good thing for MID. I do believe, though, it will hurt a lot of the people that have bought solar, like big solar farms. It will definitely hurt them, for sure. And PG&E, by the way, went on NIM 2.
Thank you,
They
Seth.
had
Thank you,
NIM
Seth.
2, and
Your
then they
3
went to
minutes
NIM
are up.
3. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Seth.
you.
All right, anyone else for public comment?
Just to talk about small business, I talked to a few people about this, but a local business here in town, their small pizza place, for him to run his business in a room a quarter of this size,
PG&E?
He's on PG&E. To run his ovens, his lights, his air conditioning is over $3,000 a month. That's a lot of pizzas he's got to make. I sat with him for an hour last night talking to him about it. And, you know, we want to support our businesses, we want to support our residents. I mean, this is one way to do it.
Can I ask a dumb question that I don't know the answer to? MID is also gas?
No.
Okay, so we're still connected to PG.
So like my house powers MID, and our gas, our water heater and stove
Or
is
PG&E.
PG&E. So,
What's your PG&E bill?
$60.
So any other questions from council? If not, this is an action item.
I am an enthusiastic yes on $11.
I want a second one.
Which option?
I want a second one finally.
You can be the first.
Beat Kaylee to it.
So we have. So
Okay,
first and a second.
just for clarification,
This is just for the.
Yes.
right, but the city staff is looking for direction from council. Which option are you telling us to do? Option one, to do the feasibility study, or option two, to stick with the current status of what we're at?
Option one, feasibility study. That's my vote.
All right, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
On
Mayor-
option one,
Option one.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettering,
Yes.
and Mayor Barry.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much, Colleen. This passes 5-0. And thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, chief.
Okay, item 11.2. Consider resolution authorizing finance director salary range adjustment.
Okay, thank you. Before you is consideration of a resolution to approve allowing the city manager to select the salary range for the finance director from either range 492, which is his current range, or 482 in the city salary schedule. So the current status, the finance director is in 492, and he's paid at the top step, which is step E, with a total salary of $13,838 per month. The other peer directors, the police chief and the public services director, are in range 482, and their top step on step E is $15,677 per month. The finance director has consistently led the city. He's maintained a reserve level of 40% in the general fund. We've achieved long-term financial stability under his guidance, and he's been serving the city for over 21 years. He's been here since 2004. I can tell you, moving into the new role as a city manager, I rely on him daily. It's going to be a struggle if Albert leaves. So, market comparison. His yearly salary is $166,000. He's 10% below Riverbank, and then it goes up from there to where he's 25% below Modesto. So if we adjust him to where the city manager can select the range of 482, he will be 3% over Riverbank, but he'll remain under the rest of the neighboring agencies. So it'll be a monthly increase of about $1,800 for an annual increase of $22,000. The general fund share of that will be about $8,800 per year. So the finance director is paid from 4 different funds. 40% from the general fund, 10% from the redevelopment fund, 25% from the water fund, 25% from the sewer fund. This cost is modest and justifiable given the finance director's contribution to the fiscal health. Also, based on his knowledge level, his experience, and what he brings to the city of Oakdale, he is extremely helpful to city staff with what he knows. I think he's woefully underpaid. I also look at as an ability to potentially retain him for a longer amount of time. So staff recommends authorizing the city manager to place the finance director in either range 492 or 482 at my discretion. It provides flexibility for current needs and future hiring, and also for future potential financial issues. So it will it will aid in the retainment and recruitment. So what this does, if I have the ability to select between the two, I think that Albert Avila will stay with the city longer, which puts the city in a better position than if he leaves. If he does leave, then the city manager could just select to go to the other financing model, the other salary range, because we're gonna have somebody with much less, we could potentially get somebody with much less experience that would probably be suited more for that salary range. And with that, I'll take any questions.
So you're saying if he leaves, you mean if he retires? Is that what we're saying? Because I know
Yes.
we've been talking about when he's gonna retire. He's been here for years and he's done many, many jobs, even blowing the leaves off the front of the, with the leaf blower. I mean,
Which one?
but is that what you're saying? Because we don't have a retirement date set for him. It's funny, but it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
He's
So this-
always mentioning, or he's retiring to me, and my response is, please help me.
So we don't have a date yet. You're saying, hey, let's pay him a little bit more. Let's keep him around with his knowledge and blowing the leaves off the front of the city building.
I think he's delegated that
Yeah.
job to.
Yeah, well, he did it, because I've seen him do it, so, anyway, that was my question.
So,
Go ahead.
my thing with employees is, it's a lot more expensive to find a new employee than to keep an old one. We went through this a year and a half ago with police department wages, and it was shocking to find that we were paying so much lower than the other departments, other cities. So it was shocking to see this, that, I mean, Oakdale's in a good financial situation. And some people can say, well, maybe it's because we pay people so poorly, but it doesn't help us if these people leave. I am all for adjusting the rate to the market rate.
Well, so I think it was last city council that we did a budget presentation. And I think you're the one that said there were some cities with a 6%, a 15%, a 25% general fund reserve. It's
Ours
because
is
it's not
40.
managed properly.
Yeah.
Albert's managed it properly. I think we could get a few more years of him managing it properly, even though we're gonna pay him more money. In the long run, you're absolutely correct. I think we would save money.
Yeah, and the bottom line here, whether we want to say it or not, is, and no offense to you, the reason that Brian Whitemeyer's not sitting in that chair tonight is because, you know, some other city had a deeper pocket, and he had larger goals. But if we lose our best resources, employee-wise, we're going in the wrong direction.
Okay, any other questions?
And I think what's important is it's not only for our current employee, even though it's going to benefit him and hopefully he will stay on board for a number of years, but somewhere down the road, we're going to have to replace this position. And what I like about this change as a whole is it gives the city manager the flexibility to pay a salary commensurate with the person's experience at an even higher level. Because when you get to those levels of experience, there are small numbers of people who are qualified to do them. And they're going to look at other organizations like Riverbank, Turlock, Ceres. And if we want to continue to hire the best, which I think Oakdale does already, we have to be competitive. And I think doing this not only preserves us for the present, for keeping an amazing employee potentially on board for a while, but it's also going to set us up better for the future to be able to recruit top contenders for the position.
Any other questions, comments? Any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, this is an action item.
Motion to approve 12.1 tonight.
I s-
I'm sorry, 11.2 tonight.
I second that motion.
We have a first and a second roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Yes.
Councilmember Patassi,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettering.
Yes.
And Mayor Barrios.
Yes, this item passes 5-0. Thank
And
you.
a huge thank you to Albert Avila
Yes,
for the work that
absolutely.
he does.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sorry that Christopher called you old earlier, Albert.
Wow. I missed that.
I did too.
All right, item number 12, city manager's report. Let's talk about the city insurance requirements for special events.
Okay. Good evening again. I was asked to do a presentation on special event insurance and the requirements from the city of Oakdale. It's one of those nuanced things. It's very difficult to figure out how things work because it's just confusing. So I wanted to give a presentation to council on how we set certain rates and why we do certain things that we do.
This makes me very unhappy, but
I thought
I'll power through it.
Thought Councilmember Smith was going to throw his bottle at me. He was so angry.
You're not old enough.
So the purpose of this is to give the overview on how we set rates, clarification on handling events outside of established guidelines, and a summary of staff training and process improvements. Why insurance standards matter. Oakdale hosts many public and private events on city streets, city property, and our right-of-way. They vary in risk and size. The insurance protects the city and the public. Insurance requirements only apply to events on city-owned property, and private property owners generally have their own insurance or their own insurance requirements from special events. So I'm only talking about things that affect the city of Oakdale. Insurance rates are set by our risk management authority. Staff applies these standards. We don't create them. So when somebody applies for a special event, we get this, we have to set it at what our risk management authority says. Again, events on private property are exempt from city mandated insurance rates. So we use a risk matrix that Sedgwick has provided. It's based on the type and complexity of the event. So we use this matrix to determine which category the event is in. So they gave us a list of about 130 to 140. I don't remember the exact number. We look at that event, and it falls in one of three categories, 1, 2, or 3. Then we go back to the person that's applying for the special event, and we tell them, okay, here's your letter of approval, and here's the amount of insurance that you're going to need, and you need to name Oakdale as one of the insured. And then if the event that's being proposed doesn't fall within one of those three categories or within the 130 that's listed, we actually work with Sedgwick to describe the event. Then they establish what the risk factor is, and they set the risk based on their assessment, not our assessment. So the reference guide for events has approximately 130. Common examples are art shows, concerts, sporting events. And if listed, staff uses what's listed, and we pick that rate, and we put that in their approval letter and get their insurance documentation from there. When the event doesn't fit the matrix, it's unusual or not listed in one of the 130 items, Risk Management Authority is consulted. They assess it by several factors, and I should have started this presentation by saying there's probably some people up here that know far more about this than I do, and they should be giving the presentation. But they assess the scope, public exposure, hazards, control measures, that sort of stuff. And then they come up with a custom insurance coverage. And again, that's set by Sedgwick. In November 8th of 2024, Tracy Berry from Sedgwick came and gave us a pretty comprehensive, what was it, Colleen, an hour and a half, 2 hours?
About an hour and a half.
Okay. To a lot of the administrators, supervisors at the city staff, and basically broke it down on how we do it, how we should do it, and the consequences of not doing it right, by emphasizing real-world consequences and inadequate insurance. So, in summary, we use a structured and flexible system designed by Sedgwick, not by Oakdale. Ensures responsible risk management. In other words, how do we protect the city the best way that we can? Because we have to protect our assets and we have to protect our community. Every special event on city property or public right-of-way is required to have insurance that covers the city. So Oakdale is, our risk management authority is managed by Sedgwick. Within our risk management authority are 52 other cities, and we're responsible for covering those other cities also. So essentially when Sedgwick gives us a rate, we can't just arbitrarily change the rate, because the other cities, if for some reason we had a loss or we had a lawsuit and we eliminated some of or we took on some of the risk, and then we get sued, some of those other cities could potentially be on the hook too, because they're in the same risk management authority. So we pretty much have to stay with what Sedgwick says. Did I get that correct, Colleen?
Correct.
Okay. And again, this is not my expertise, but I will take questions. I know you're,
Chomping at the bit. So let's face it, I brought this up to council, or to the city council, because this is in my wheelhouse, right? I don't do a lot of it anymore, but this does pull at a lot of things that I do, God bless you, because of the fact that I'm involved in different nonprofits that bring, with our team, free community events. So before, we would have to have 1 million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate, which doesn't cost us that much money for a nonprofit insurance to have those liability limits, but now the city has required for parades and other special events the 2 million, 4 million, which does cost us quite a bit more money to have that additional insurance. So when we give these free events that we're not making any money off it, we got to dig deeper in our pockets or get sponsors for that. So I just wanted to make sure people that have reached out to me that are saying, hey, now I'm required to do the 2 million, that they have the same information. So thank you for bringing that here. With that and our ice skating rink that we're bringing here in December, it is required 5 million. But I get it. I mean, I get it. As an insurance agent, I get it. I totally get it. I'm not happy about it, but I get it.
Is it ice skating and axe throwing, or?
It's not axe throwing, but I do understand it wholeheartedly with, liability. But it's just something that we have to do if we're gonna have events for the community. So, thank you for taking the time to put this on the agenda. I understand it, even though I do not like it one bit, but I understand it, and we will have that to you very soon. So, yes, Mr. Smith.
This is just an explanation. We're not changing rates.
Not-
We're not.
just an
this is just
explanation.
an explanation.
this is just me telling you how city staff
Yeah.
assesses and distributes risk.
So in other words, he doesn't have to hear from me anymore. This is, Colleen, you're laughing, you know it's true. Anyway, so got to the bottom line of everything, and thank you again for taking the time.
Thanks, Jim.
Any other,
My pleasure.
yes?
Thank you to the nonprofits that do pay for the insurance to provide the free family events to our community. They really do make a big difference for our constituents living here.
And I think it's important for the 5 of us to be able to explain, we're not setting these rates.
No.
It's a standard.
And
that
I
we
have
to stick
I
with.
have to pay it on those nonprofits. It's not a, because I'm the mayor, you're having an event. No, and so it could be, the $5 million insurance policy could be $3,000 to $20,000 more that we didn't have a budget for. But we will obviously have it because the show must go on. But anyway, that's a huge chunk of money that, we weren't expecting, but we will comply, of course, with the city because we're doing it for the greater good, so.
Using this
Yes.
chart, why are you paying 5?
Ice skating rink.
A lot of weak ankles,
What's that?
a lot of
Ice
weak ankles.
Ice skating rink, it's a huge exposure.
But we don't have a 5.
So it's other, it would be
Oh,
fall,
it's other.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
this
if you've
is
seen me on skates, you would know the reason why. Let's
This is-
just be real.
This is one that didn't fall into the 130
Gotcha.
listed,
Yeah.
so we called them, and
Yeah.
they basically said,
So it-
this is what we have to
Yeah.
require.
It's not a cookie cutter, so it's
Who's-
way outside the
Who
box.
provides the city's insurance?
This is who they have Cedric.
Sedgwick is our insurance provider.
It's
a
like an
risk
insurance
management-
pool.
They're our risk management.
So I just had a question. How, and maybe you covered it, but you went over a lot, and I'm not an insurance person either, so maybe you can answer it too. How does the insurance of the city overlap with the special event holders' insurance that they have to? Is that a thing, or?
So I'll take the first bite
Okay.
at this, and you can tell me if I get
Yeah.
it correct or not. But when they apply for a special event, we tell them one of the requirements for the special event is to get insurance. So they have to insure themselves, but they also name the city of Oakdale as an additional insured so that we have the same coverage as they do.
Got it, so
Yeah.
everybody's covered.
They also provide the city with a certificate of insurance, and in the event of a claim, the reason they have the insurance is so that the city doesn't get sued. Let's say they have an inflatable mechanical bull that they're doing for an event, and that way, when someone does get injured on that bull, it doesn't come back to the city.
Gotcha.
So it could come back to the city. So what happens is when a nonprofit has an insurance policy, somebody gets hurt at that event, a parade, ice skating, whatever, that person is gonna come sue the first person, which would be the nonprofit.
Yeah.
Of course, the city can always get sued, or, because they own the
Yeah.
property, like if
Yeah.
somebody goes to your house,
Yeah.
the same thing. So that's the big thing. So that's why they require the same limits. We add them as additional insured. So if we get sued first, and then they can go to the city. They can add anybody on that list. But,
And a lot of the other contracts we have, that's why the indemnification provision
Yeah.
is so
The fi-
necessary. And it's only as good as the insurance that backs it up.
yeah.
So how is
So-
this gonna affect my proposed Thunderdome Gladiator evening?
Don't
You-
hold it on city property.
You need to talk to Colleen at the city, 845-3573.
I have
and
a
let her
barn
tell-
somewhere where it's not on city
Yeah.
property. You might wanna
Take
up
it
the
to the
insurance
rodeo
policy though
grounds.
Yes,
for the ice skating ring. Me and
Yeah.
Jerry are gonna do a figure skating event show for
yes,
when we have that.
Yes,
Blades
it's
of
gonna be a special-
Glory.
Don't miss the costumes.
yes.
Right, my only actual question is on page 3 of this schedule. Those numbers aren't these numbers, and because on my package, there's a $5 million level, which is level 3, so maybe that's a typo up there? Okay,
Potentially.
okay,
It was 4 million plus.
okay. Because
Yeah.
this
I
one
might-
does,
I
this
might
one
have
does say
missed it.
5 million, and I didn't know.
I don't know if the typo is in my presentation or in
Okay,
the report.
So like I said, just $3,000 up to $20,000, this will cost us more. And we have to make sure that the event, because anybody can send a certificate of liability insurance, but it doesn't mean that event is actually covered. So like with parades, all the carriers are declining parades now, all of them. I deal with hundreds of them. So we have to get a special policy that will cover parades, which is another thing.
They
So that-
also do not cover bounce houses at all either. That is very, very difficult.
Yeah, so there's an attachment and endorsement that comes with them, so. There's coverage out there, but you're just gonna pay a lot of money, and to put on free events for the community and the greater good, it does cost us a lot of money, and if we don't get a sponsor, it's either A, we don't have the event, or B, get a sponsor, or, put the money out of our personal
But
pockets.
you know what, that's why we have a budget, that's why we have a general fund, to do good for the community.
Yeah.
PG&E, MID, that's gonna cost us money, but it's to do good.
Yeah, well, these events
And
that we
that's why-
run with our
That's why
nonprofits
the
is
5 of us are here.
separate, very separate from anything city. The city doesn't pay for that. But anyway, again, thank you very much. I
Hey,
know.
real quick, I just want to thank you for the PTSD for reliving my law school days of risk management and my former years as chief and having to go through it. And when I'm reading it, I'm thinking we're going to have to vote on something. And then I got through it, and that's when I sent you the email. This is only a presentation, correct? But no, and what I think the people who are doing this need to understand is our world, country, state, county, city has become much more litigious over the past 10 years than it has been in a lot of our lifetimes, and the cities have to protect themselves. One incident could bankrupt the city of Oakdale, because if we have a verdict of several $1 million, that could bankrupt the city if somebody else isn't covering by the insurance. So thank you for the presentation. I actually enjoyed reading a lot of that stuff. And I think it provides adequate coverage for the city in event of some type of liability.
Yep, I understand it, but I don't like it, but I understand it. I get it, okay. Okay, I beat that dead horse, right? Isn't that the saying? All right, any council member have any items they want to bring up?
I would please give me a second while I pull this up.
You got a second?
Here, I'll fill your second in while you're pulling that up. I just want to say thank you to OBSA, Oakdale Baseball Softball Association, yesterday. They had a fundraiser that pitted our Oakdale Police Department against Modesto Fire in a softball game. I'm not going to say who won, but let's just say the fire department looked really, really good out there.
They recruit. I was told they recruit.
I'm gonna, as a former law enforcement person, I'm gonna stay away from fire law enforcement jokes.
No comment.
Because our deputy chief is a very good friend of mine and he's sitting in the room. But it was great seeing the community out there. Our mayor threw out the first pitch. Having the flags on the baseball field. As a photographer who photographed the event yesterday, it's fun getting the batters with the blue line flag and the American flag in the background of all the batters. that were up at the plate, and it's just great to see the community come out and support both our police, fire, and Oakdale Baseball and Softball Association. So thank you for those who attended.
Yeah, thank you for being there. Anyone?
Prom was this last weekend for our Oakdale High School students, and I don't know if you've seen most of the photos, but it looks like they all had a wonderful time. I might be a little bit biased helping with the S Club, where this is some of the seniors last year with me, where I've had them for 4 years, so I'm feeling a little sentimental seeing the prom photos this year.
Love it.
All right, I would like to personally and as a group, thank Lisa Kilgard for the Love Oakdale Day. She did a lot of work, but she was also helped by her chair, Savannah Sprague, and also some team leaders or managers, Danielle Sanders and Amy Puncabre, I hope I said that correctly, for nonprofits, Tamberly Stone and Savannah Sprague for schools, Lupe Aguilar and Greg Shipman for homes. We did a lot of good work last weekend. We did a lot of really, really good work for this community last weekend. It was a great turnout, even if it was a little rainy. Nobody cared, it seemed, because I just wanted to say thank you to Oakdale. Thank you to those managers for taking up, using their time to help the community out.
Definitely enjoyed building a fence in cloudy, rainy weather instead of hot, so.
And you had your son there with you.
Yep, teaching him some of the carpentry stuff.
Very nice.
Shoveling bark into the park wasn't so bad since it was drizzling, so.
All right, thank you. I do want to say thank you to Lisa and her team for the morning market. I went just for a little while, but from what I heard, it was the most packed it's ever been. So we had a lot of people supporting our community, our small businesses, and our community as a whole. Kay Hovenian Coffee Connection tomorrow has been rescheduled, so if you have that on your calendar for 8 o'clock tomorrow, that's been rescheduled, so don't show up there. They're almost sold out of all their homes there in the Carmel Ranch gated community, so they've taken out all of the furniture, and they don't have any furniture there to do walkthroughs, so exciting times for them. Other than that, we will see you at the next scheduled council meeting, June 2nd, 7 p.m., and I want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. Meeting adjourned.